Hey guys, it's Retro Rose and welcome back to Mushy Mondays where we play a Kyoza game and we're going to continue our life now and forever. I know it's been about a week since I last uploaded and seen you guys, but it's been a very intense week and a lot of things have kind of gone down like in society and at home, but we're back at it and let's keep the ball rolling. You knew for sure that Timrex struggled with seeing her own presence in that light. She told you about it. How much longer would Timrac Bamon be living right next door? No, you stopped that line of thinking right there. You didn't want to get upset. You still had to go to class. Are we walking together? I wanted to ask. That's what I was actually doing coming over before everything with the frog and us talking and all of that. Of course we're walking together. Great. Having you by her side was everything she needed to enter the lion's den that was high school. Except Timrac's gaze began to wander past you, past your house, and towards the red building beyond it. Are you inviting Autumn? They'd come if you were the one asking. Well, Quay likes you. And it'd be kind of like the old days, how crazy it would be if all three of us went to school together again. I can't even remember the last time we did, but her voice faded into nothing. Whatever she wanted to express never coming through. Despite Timrac's quieter demeanor, she didn't make it easy for you to get away with things that hadn't changed. She was more than willing to take the lead whenever you were ready to follow or not. I'm a little sad about Timrac. It's like, but that's the thing, like your life and your circumstance can really change things about your personality as you get older, especially given that Timrac's parents were kind of in and out of her life, and it almost feels like at any day she could leave or be whisked away by her parents. When it came to her other neighbor, though, Timrac flipped back and forth. Sometimes she didn't even want to try vocalizing her thoughts around them. Other days she was extra stubborn in making her preference perfectly known to Quay. That morning, it seems, she was going with the give up before making an attempt strategy. If you're okay with them coming, I am too. Okay, yeah, we're doing it. But we better hurry. I don't want to be late. Clay wasn't going to be springing out from the foliage anytime soon, but you did have an idea where they might be hiding. You and Timrac cut through the grassy aisles between your houses and the lens. It was the shortest path to where you needed to be. The full group had to be reunited before beginning the trip to school. You easily broke into your friend's fenceless backyard. Quay's old hideout stood tall along the actual trees that backed it. Wow. Oh, wow. It was creakier than it used to be, and you were more than likely to wind up with a splinter by climbing on it, but the fort hadn't been abandoned, though something around had been discarded. Laying carelessly in the pile of leaves underneath the tower, you could spot a black and yellow gym bag, a bandana that was tied in a knot around the strap, and on the top level of the structure lay the bag, the bag's owner in much of a heap. Quay was holed away in a child play place they could barely fit in. From the knee down, their legs hung lifelessly out of the entry hole. Their dark gray jeans and matching colored sneakers made it look as if a sheet of dark rain was poured over the edge. So much for the hide part of Quay's hideout. Some people still called them Autumn. Including you. You've known them as Quay and Autumn since you've met 4 years ago. You and Timrac shared a side-eyed glance, then simultaneously moved your silent stares to the motionless lump once more. Hey Autumn, it's Rose and Timrac. What's up, Autumn? Quay's legs flipped up before flopping down uselessly, reminiscent of the final thrash of a fish out of water. You and Quay were locked in a wordless impasse. But there was a third member in this party. Timrac spoke up. Quay, it's me and Rose. No one's home. Timrac settled her hands on her hips with a sigh. Rather than being dissuaded, Quay's own stubbornness was feeding into hers. You didn't like seeing how they shut themselves away from everything. Clearly, Quay needed further convincing. If no one's home, who said no one's home, huh? No reply. A snort escaped you. Oh, now you're pretending nobody can answer. Then a long, low grumble drifted from the top of the tower. This wasn't going to go their way no matter what. Who's allowed you people on my property? Well, you quit it. I'm not going to let any of us be late on the first day of school. Things were getting desperate then. The clock was ticking. Quay, you are going to get off of that. When all else failed, she always had one option at her disposal, throwing things. Timrac picked up an acorn and tossed it at Quay's vulnerable legs. It made contact, bouncing weakly off of their left calf. It was an assault purely in the goal of annoyance, and bother Quay it did. Oh, what is it with you and throwing crap? It works. She was already poised with a fresh twig in her hand, daring Quay to give her a reason to toss it. In that moment, Timrac had become fearless. She would not hesitate. It was incredible. There's a lot of stuff down here, and I won't run out of ammo for 100 years. Yeah, and school would be over by then. Right when you began to wonder what else you could do, when you were questioning what you were doing, Quay had suddenly changed of heart. Wait, I'm going. They were serious. It wasn't so strange either. Quay didn't want to go to school, obviously, but they also didn't want to keep ignoring their neighbors. That wasn't like them. Kind of. It was some other random classmate who showed up. They would have pretended not to hear them for eternity. Though you would have stayed forever in that case. You weren't leaving it behind no matter what. Except Quay didn't climb down like a normal person, no. And they didn't jump either. They sort of let their bodies slip forward inch by inch until gravity took over and they plummeted into the doorless entryway. Autumn's feet hit the ground first. There was no attempt to catch the weight of their own body. Their knees bent and their torso curled, and they landed in a ball. A rim of white hawk's hair hid their downturned face. Their hood was up. No pages fluttered through the air. Quay's mention of Nascent had carelessly dragged the papers down with them. They'd already been discarded across the floor of the fort. Oh. When each one came to rest on the ground around them, Quay slowly unfurled. In the same motion, they tugged the hood off. They stood with perfect poise simply to show they could. It reminded you of a video you'd seen once, a time-lapse of a flower going from only a seed to sprouting a stem and finally having its petals bloom, all in a matter of seconds. Despite their usual flopping around, Quay was still a trained dancer. But you've gotten your first clear look at their face the whole day. Having an aloof expression directed your way was another positive you could point to about the place you lived in. Autumn was one of your favorite people. They lifted their hand vaguely towards the sky, closing their eyes. I am here. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. That's something I would say. In a tone crisper than the breeze, Quay responded, You're welcome. That's why you bothered coming. Quay dropped their hands to their sides again. They were only willing to put in energy to wear their lips into a faint smirk. There was a focus in their dark irises. It went far past casually looking in the general direction. Quay was staring at you. You've been staring at them too, you suddenly realized. Oh. You stretch your arms nice and big for a hello hug. Quay clocked your offer and smiled, wide and leisurely. Slowly they lifted onto their tiptoes. Gradually they began to lean forward. Here they went, and Quay promptly toppled over into your awaiting embrace. You caught a full weight of a rag doll suddenly in your care, gripping tightly around their narrow frame. Quay's arms dangled idly instead of hugging back. Having their entire body pressure onto you was more than enough to bring them in close. They rested their chest and cheek against your shoulder. The both of you were at risk of collapsing into a huge heap any second. Soon Autumn shrugged themselves off, the same way they might have done with their oversized jacket, except you've been the one wearing them. Tamarack chimed in with a strained noise. The poor girl had wound up a bit of a third wheel in the wake of yours and Quay's antics. Rose and I are going to school together. You can come too if you go now. While she might have begun uneasy, Tamarack found her footing by the end. There was no doubting in her mind Quay would accept. She could even give an ultimatum. Though, considering what happened a second ago, she had a solid base of evidence for her theory. For a moment, Quay's gaze darted to you, then they fixed a typical blank stare towards Tamarack's rare bold one. Leaning their weight onto one foot, they popped a hip out to one side. It's not like I would have said no. Thank goodness. It was done. Tamarack could breathe a subtle sigh of relief. She'd acted tough because you were there. Having someone she trusted on her side was confidence booster. McQuaid was autumn air, frosty and untouchable. You had to brace yourself for it or build up a tolerance. And Tamarack was far more sensitive to the cold than she had been as a kid. So that was the status quo of things on Acorn Road, Oregon, USA. Distance, uncertainty, and tension. Tamarack Bayamon and Quay Lynn were the same age. They went to the same school. They lived on the same street. And they had the same favorite season, fall. But they had different personalities, different interests, different priorities, and different social circles. Well, besides you. An unspoken shift between them as Quay and Tamarack changed themselves. It was something only felt, only silently acknowledged in your own mind. Quay and Tamarack weren't friends. It'd been years since either of them called the other that, and the only time they attempted to spend time together were odd occasions like the first day of school, for example. And it's kind of hurts my heart, but I understand like getting older and how your circumstances and your environment can kind of shape your personality and who you are, and like questioning yourself and what you want to do with your life and how you identify. But it does kind of hurt to see they're almost like shells of themselves. So I do feel like we watched all that bubbly, extroverted energy kind of shift. So I'm curious to see how things kind of turn out for all three of us. You couldn't pretend it was true regardless of it if it hadn't been said right to your face. The cul-de-sac kids, the first friend group you've ever made in Golden Grove, had broken up. It was weird for sure, the way their entire friendship disappeared and nobody even talked about it. But life just kept going all the time. There never was a specific moment when it made sense to say, hey, I noticed that you're not buddies with our other neighbor anymore, especially because you knew both of them well enough to understand why it was the way it was. Maybe one day you'll talk about the bond they used to have. And even if you don't, they could never be strangers. All of you were always neighbors. If worse came to worse, it'd be there for one another, and for you too. Without another word, Quay trotted around the support beam of the fort to fetch their stuff. They didn't so much as glance at the papers their movement kicked about, much less pause to pick them up. A familiar smell of earth tickles your nose when Quay dug their gym bag out from the pile of leaves, the scent of forest expedition, treasure hunting, and hide and seek. Nothing related to today's plans. Quay simply slugged the pack across their back and then returned to the front. And again, the pages were ignored. As a kid, Quay earnestly never noticed when they had lost something. As a teenager, that had become a selective ignorance. That quirk was one more point of friction between the former friends. Gripping the strap of her bag, Tamarack took on the thankless task of pointing it out. Quay had already done the usual by agreeing to walk with her to school. Maybe she thought she'd have more luck today. Quay, those papers. I dropped them. You've seen them before, you'll see it again. Yeah, but it looks like a lot is written on those ones. What if there's important reminders? You should keep them. Wei passed by her, physically dismissed her words. Jeez. If papers reminding me of something go away, then me remembering it wasn't meant to be. I released myself from the burden of fighting against fate. Be free, my child. Oh goodness. Oh, my baby. They added while flipping backwards to flutter their fingers in front of Tamarack's face. She turned her cheek to them with a serious side eye, more like belitter. Tamarack hissed. That was the last of the one-sided conversation. She would have tried to reason with that logic. It seemed painfully pointless. It seemed that was probably because it was. Quay wasn't going to be moved by an argument Tamarack made. You knew it, she knew it, Quay knew it. They concluded months ago that they'd spent enough of their life gathering lost papers already. Yeah. Yeah, that's something I would say. Making this as quick as possible. You racked up every page, used with both hands. It was fine if it got a few creases. Naturally, in times like those, you thought back to your first meeting with Quay. You'd help them pick up pages then too. Only then Quay insisted they never lose things. Yeah, they'd given up trying to sell that one. The pages were returned to their owner. He stood, turned, and stalled. Quay's face was pointed away, looking towards their house. They had their right hand on their hip and the left was lifted, their palm open and waiting for you to return their papers into it. You hadn't even offered yet. In a big showy motion that flipped the end of their hair, Quay swept their face towards you. They were smiling extremely smugly. However, it couldn't qualify as a true smirk. There was too much earnest affection behind it. Rather than carelessness, it spoke to a level of trust. You were willing to go out of your way for Quay, and they were willing to accept that. It was something you come to understand about Quay's life. How much of a difference it made not to be bogged down by reminders you couldn't properly keep hold on. What could seem like a minor inconvenience to an outsider was considered a constant struggle for them. It made the obnoxiousness of the task a little easier to swallow. That was why you never could quite quit for real. Quay took the stack from your hands. Thanks, Rose. Now it was done. Let's get out of here. Quay was not getting their bike then, but they never did like the pushing the bike around or even going at a leisure pace. It wasn't worth it to them with you and Tamarack walking. Then, you took Tamarack and Autumn's hands in yours. It was a bold choice, that was for sure. The shock and awe on their face made it perfectly clear. Tamarack's warmth managed to come through even in the freezing weather. Quay's palm was icy. He must have been out in the cold for a long time. Tamarack's smile strained. Quay squeezed their eyes shut. Kind of friction came from the way you tied the whole trio together, possibly in more ways than one. But you weren't willing to go forward differently. Both of them were important. And it wasn't only because of your own feelings. You could have believed Quay and Tamarack hated one another, or even that they wanted things to be uneasy in the cul-de-sac as they were. If one of you could help bring together the others, it was up to that person to do it. You held tight to Tamarack's snug hand and Quay's chilly one. It was then that together you left the old neighborhood behind. Your first day as a high schooler was waiting on the horizon. Oh, I want more. Well, that's Our Life Now and Forever. Oh man, this is so good so far. And let me see. I'm trying to remember who have been giving me the updates on this because I greatly appreciate it. It gave way more perspective into this for me. Let me pull it up here. It's Mate. I'll call you Mate because I don't know how to pronounce your entire username, but I don't want to butcher it. But I do appreciate you giving me a lot of insight about the game and what's to come. So there's going to be an update soon on this. So, and I did kind of do a deep dive on more about Autumn's personality and what they're going through, Tamarack as well as Darren, and just kind of getting a glimpse of how things are going to turn out. So I'm very, very excited to continue to bring Our Life Now and Forever to you guys. If there are any other visual novel games you want me to play that you recommend, I definitely appreciate it if you would leave that down in the comments below. But we're bringing this to a close for now. So I thank you for joining me on this journey of Our Life Now and Forever. Please kindly don't forget to like and subscribe and push that notification bell so I can keep you guys updated. But with that being said, I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.